Hey, welcome to the Hearties hotline. I am Cammy Clements, the Hooked Hearty, and allow me to introduce my lovely co-host and partner in crime, Sarah Nitch, the Hawk-Eyed Hearty. Hello, Sarah.
Hello. Hey, Hearties, how's it going?
Okay, so that's my big starter for today. The ultimate irony of Natasha, as Minnie, saying, acting in a play with an accent.
I actually had to do a double take with that because I had to remind myself. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Her actual voice. Who would have thought they would have a way of having her?
Have her use her real accent.
I think it was a slightly exaggerated version of her real accent, but
Oh, it was.
still, it was probably much more normal for her.
She didn't have to try as hard, which is funny because she's pretending to try really hard. And Natasha just played that perfectly, doing the whole effort into sounding British. And when Rosemary said, maybe your accent's almost as good as mine, I'm like,
Oh yes, I bet they cracked up a lot behind the scenes on that. Also, just while we're on that subject, I have to say I was thrilled that they took the teeniest, tiniest opportunity to just make Minnie seem more human by actually saying there was something she wasn't good at because you don't see that anywhere on this show. She does seem like the perfect person
she
who can
does.
be wonderful at anything she tries to do. And so that was actually very cute.
Maybe you're a plant killer.
Yeah.
Joseph has a way with words, doesn't he?
Yeah. So finally something I have in common with Minnie.
When he said, okay, you're not good at gardening, but, and then he lists, and then of course she goes back to, wait a minute, how am I not good at gardening? That's the one thing, of course, that she would pick out. Then, maybe you're a plant killer. While we are there on that scene, I have to point out that Joseph also said, if you get nervous, you just look for me. I'll be right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did that happen with in this program?
Hmm.
Huh. I believe that it's two different men
Mm-hmm.
who were both wearing the same uniform, and it was the same color that I have on right now. They were both in the same situation. Am I correct?
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
Not a
Does
clue.
anybody have any clues? I mean, red.
Hmm.
Okay, who wears red?
Where's red? Who wears a uniform that's red? And there
Mm.
have been two of them. And if you say Bill, I'm gonna kill you.
No, 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 no. We all know that Elizabeth only has eyes for one man in red right now. That's
And she only had eyes for one man in red before.
yes.
But I thought that was so cute to take something that she has done with both of them and give it to another pair of characters to show how supportive they are. And also, yes, Minnie is good at everything she does, but I don't think that she's ever done anything theatrical before. And so this is a new way. This is a new way for Joseph to be supportive and to show his support.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, because she hadn't tried out for the play to begin with.
No.
wasn't trying to be involved in it in any way. And she is active in the choir, but that's something she's done for years.
Yeah, she's married to a public speaker. And
Mhm.
so I don't know that she's done very much of that public speaking. I think it's more been she's done the quiet stuff on the side, and he does the big public stuff.
Mhm.
So this is the first time that Joseph has sat back quietly, at least that we know of.
Yeah.
And she's done the talking into the microphone.
Yeah. I mean, it probably helped a lot that it was on the radio and not
And not
not
in
on.
front of a big audience, yes.
Um, but it was so sweet and it was so great to see them, just everyone coming together.
Again,
It's not like that happens very often in Hope Valley, huh?
no, no, no. Let's talk about those circumstances for a moment.
How do these things just happen to Rosemary?
Did Ava do it on purpose? Did she suggest the hot springs on purpose?
Oh, no. I mean, she never could have known.
I don't think so either. I don't think she's that malicious.
I mean, at the time, Hickam was really presenting it more like just losing his voice from
Yeah, that's the
overpracticing.
thing. Laryngitis, he didn't feel sick. And then all of a sudden he's got a temperature. What?
And so, I mean, if that's the only information Ava had, then she's just giving advice based on your vocal cords. Like,
Yeah.
it's not anything that could have foreseen a negative outcome. It really didn't seem like there could, even if she was being malicious, I don't see how you could anticipate this outcome.
That's true. That's true. But even so, when Rosemary said, "I'm sure you didn't mean to sabotage the play," that there was a look.
The other scene too, though, with Rosemary and Elizabeth talking to Ava at the beginning, and obviously Elizabeth and Rosemary have had conversations about this, and Elizabeth's aware what Rosemary is going to ask her. And so it's very clear that there have been conversations and she's trying to give her a nudge in that direction and she's not ready to be nudged.
Would you like to play guru? Rosemary's quote at the beginning, "There's nothing wrong with a little drama." Uh, famous last words?
I mean, that is basically Rosemary's tagline in life.
Yeah, but the problem is when she says it, there's always something that comes up that is more drama than what she bargained for.
Yeah.
So, here's your question for the day.
Ooh.
Have you ever had to delegate or give something over to someone else and you really, really didn't want to, but it had to be done?
I don't know what you're talking about. I am a perfectionist and I am someone who really likes things done a certain way. So I definitely guarantee that this has happened a million times where if I have to ask for like I will not ask for support. I will do exactly what Rosemary did. I will push things out and try to smash my expectations into a small period of time that I don't have enough time to do something. And then usually it will either work out or it will, come to a head and I have to do what Rosemary did and ask for help.
I have an example for you.
Okay.
This podcast.
It's fair.
You do not want to cancel until it is absolutely 115% necessary.
Yeah,
You would rather go hoarse after recording than to not record.
that is true. That is very true. I do not, if something is my responsibility or my thing, I don't like. I'm very thankful to the times that we've had other people like guest host for me when I've been sick or had stuff come up with my kiddos. But yeah, it's like
You don't
this
like
is my
missing.
thing. I should be the one doing it. I shouldn't be pawning that off on anybody else, and I also shouldn't be missing out on it because then that's also going to make it harder for me to pop back in the next week, not have been able to say my pieces, my takes on the previous episode and feel like
Right.
I've left something out. Like those kinds of things bother me where it's like, oh, well, I fully intended on having this piece of information shared.
So for me, the most recent example, cough, cough, is I was like Minnie, I was the church choir director. And I just can't be on my feet that long. And it takes a lot of energy and a lot of my time, especially since I have another responsibility at church. And so Sunday, the day of rest, nothing. Sunday has been my busiest day. And so I
Right.
had to go to our bishop or our pastor, and I said, I need to be released from this position. I need to have somebody take my place. And it was the hardest thing that I ever had to do. At least it feels like it
Right.
because I said, who else is going to teach them to do these things and who else is going to choose these songs and who else is going to lead them with the right cutoffs and our new choir director is fabulous, but I went through that whole thing.
A lot easier if you don't care about it to be like, oh, yeah, okay. But I don't feel like that's the time in life when you need to let stuff go.
But Rosemary found a way to do all three. She just had to play a man. Speaking of which, this was fun. I don't know if you noticed this. I was going through Pascal's Instagram and there was a picture of her and Loretta in their costumes. And I went, wait a minute. Isn't that Rosemary's coat from season 2? And she answered me. And she said, good catch, Cammy. Yes, thanks for noticing. Did you notice anything else? And so now I'm looking with a, pardon the pun, eagle eye or a hawk eye, but I couldn't find anything else that would be a costume Easter egg. Did you notice
I
anything?
didn't see that. I didn't see that picture. I think it was in this episode. I know that Molly was wearing a dress that Elizabeth had worn in another season, the pink one.
Oh,
I don't know if I don't think it was right then, but I'd have to look again. But
okay.
I know that I caught that, and I think I saw that in some behind the scenes that Joanna posted.
Okay, before we move on, there's one more thing that I want to talk about with Ava.
Okay.
So when she accepts the role of Gwendolyn, she's slightly happy about it, more thrilled. But listen to what she says. That means so much coming from you. You're such a wonderful writer and director and actor and producer, and everybody loves you, and you have this beautiful family. What I'm trying to say is, I hope my life turns out to be like yours one day. And then she added on, and you're so wise. So that kind of led me back to episode 5, Mom's the Word, when Ava first appears. Trunks were stolen. She's an heiress. She wants to be a school teacher. She admits that she came to Hope Valley because she read the book, A Single Mother on the Frontier. And she says to Elizabeth, "It was silly of me to come here thinking I could live the life you wrote about in a book." And then Elizabeth says, "If you're looking for a place to start over or try something new, Hope Valley is a great place to do it. And the people are really wonderful." And Ava says, "Just like in the book." And now she's bringing up all of Rosemary's credentials. And
Oh, yeah.
we talked last time that she's probably switching idols.
Or possibly switching targets.
Indeed. And if she's switching idols to emulate, I went back and I watched the poison ivy scene by the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I think that Ava thought that being Elizabeth was too hard.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so she switched to Rosemary. Maybe I'll be better at this. So she does have a great British accent. She does have a good singing voice. So I'm wondering if she did study acting.
Mm-hmm. If you've had experience being a con artist, you know, a time or two, acting is part of that.
Acting is completely part of it.
So it makes sense that she, maybe even if she didn't formally study acting, that she did some research on acting because she was going to have to play a part in a con. And so she may have some of that background because of being involved in these schemes.
I'm wondering if she ever pulled a scheme in London.
I mean, there's a lot. I will say that there were several moments in this because there've been comments, chatter online about, and we talked about also the possibility of her being a relative of Rosemary's, of there being some sort of connection to Rosemary. And while that definitely still could be possible because she is acting a lot like her and being very similar to her and seeming extremely enamored by being in her presence, even
Yeah.
even more so than she was with Elizabeth, I think.
Oh, I agree. I think that
um
there's a part that suits her better.
oh, 100%. And that's, my gut is telling me there is no actual connection to Rosemary, but still not ruling it out. Always a possibility, but it does really seem more like she is trying, like she has some sort of angle.
We're just trying to figure out what the angle is. Speaking of chatter online, have you heard people say that they think that Ava and Wyatt are a couple?
I could see them having a connection. I still don't even think they do, but I could see a connection. Um, but he's so young.
Yeah, I mean, he's 18 years old.
I mean, I think she's supposed to be younger than the actress is also, but I don't get the impression that I just don't see it. I don't see there being enough of a connection for it to make sense.
My impression is she thinks of him the way he thinks of Allie.
Yes.
The way that she was acting toward him with the coffee, he's trying to hit on her, and she said, just cream, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Go away, little boy.
yeah, skedaddle, little one. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's funny that I would have this thought pop into my mind that Ava is a wolf in sheep's clothing because we had another wolf who appeared on the show and she was called out as a wolf in private, but still. I did not know what to think of her. The way that she was praising Elizabeth, she seemed like such a sweet woman, and then all of a sudden, bang, she does a complete 180 and starts demeaning the poor woman on the radio. You know,
I mean, obviously you're talking about the superintendent.
Superintendent Eileen Bennett, the person who sounded so sweet on the telephone and then turned out to be like the wolf that swallowed grandma. So,
I know, I loved that reference. That was so awesome. To me, I loved the way that Elizabeth explained it to Allie later, is that it was bureaucracy.
yep.
And sometimes, obviously not everyone, but sometimes people that have been in high positions for a long time really lose touch with the work that they're
Oh, don't I
overseeing,
know it?
you know? And so I work in education, and I don't really get that as much in my current job, but in places that I've worked, especially large places, when you have many layers of management, it can be really, really hard to feel connected and to really feel like, when you're the person in the classroom teaching, to feel like the people making the decisions and telling you what you need to do understand where you're coming from. There's such a disconnect. And the hardest part is that if she's in a big city as a superintendent, she probably does visit schools now and then, but she's probably mostly going to schools nearby, which are big city schools and have a completely different atmosphere and have to be run in a different way than a tiny school in the middle of nowhere. To be fair, Elizabeth really sounded like she does that stuff too. She just hasn't
Yeah,
gotten there. She doesn't have test scores yet because
that
this is
was
new.
that was the part that I thought was really unfair. She just started this. She's not saying every teacher should do this all the time. She is introducing a new program that she has done for a little bit and it has proved successful. So she wanted to share it with other people. And she has not done it long enough to have numbered results and numbered test scores to compare them to. But I mean, then to start diminishing what she does and to start humiliating her and just I know that technically they are in a one-room schoolhouse, but she did not have
I
to
mean,
say
she
that.
didn't say anything that was untrue, but she was very disrespectful in how she communicated it.
And derogatory.
She was pleasant in how she addressed the situation with Allie, in that it sounded like she was a very bright child or something like that. But it was out of context, first of all. It just,
Yeah.
Elizabeth never said, like you said, Elizabeth never presented this as everyone should do this.
Yeah.
And that was the stance that the superintendent took, was, how can you think that because this works for you, everyone should do it? And it's like, she didn't say that.
Nuh-uh.
But I also just got the similar approach with a little bit different demeanor of like Mr. Stoneman, is that like test scores are all that matter. Competitiveness is all that matters.
Yep.
Curiosity doesn't matter.
Rome wasn't built by following one's curiosity, now was it? I think it was. I mean,
I mean, that was the one piece where I was like, that makes zero sense at all. And you can be an administrator and say that like test scores are important and competitiveness is important and these are things that we need to do. But to dismiss that any of that matters on the other side is the part that's like, I don't even see how you could say that.
Curiosity is how we have every single invention that has ever been invented. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're never going to maintain high test scores if kids aren't curious about anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you might get some kids who are just naturally academic, not going to be the norm in any type of schoolhouse.
Uh-uh.
And I think Elizabeth has learned one, if she's learned one thing in her career over all the seasons, is that different children need different things. And I think that's really what every teacher in the world knows, probably. And it's just easier to do in some schools than others.
But the good thing is that this falling out, did you see Elizabeth's dealing face? So obviously she was determined for this to get turned around. And this problem caused some great scenes to happen. So,
Ooh.
cause and effect. Okay. When Elizabeth said, "Do I look fuzzy to you?" that Nathan said, "Not in the way that she meant."
I think he was like the whole, like, you're a warm and fuzzy person.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking about. But obviously, she did not appreciate said joke. And
I bet she will when she looks back on it.
yeah, when she looks back on it, she'll say, "Oh, he said I was fuzzy."
Yeah.
This brings up an interesting discussion that, well, maybe next time you answer her a little less like Mrs. Thornton and a little more like Diane DeMarco. Diane doesn't get into arguments with school superintendents. No, no one would dare. I thought, huh, Nathan's getting into the acting gig too. So yeah, this was interesting. Do you wish I was more like Diane? And he seemed a little caught like a boy with his hand in the candy jar for a second. No, no, I just like knowing that she's in there.
So there's a few things about this scene. One being,
Yes.
it's one of those comments like that guys just get that deer in the headlights look and they're like, did I just mess up? What did I say? Is there any way to say this and not make it worse? Like, what do I like? Like, like someone like, how do I look in this outfit? Like,
Because not everybody is going to have the smoothness to say, wow, those moving pictures don't have anything on you.
but I do think he handled it well. I don't know if there's a perfect response to that because you obviously there was a piece of that where she felt like insecure that he maybe doesn't 100% like her the way she normally is. And that's why she asked that. Obviously, I don't think she thinks that. But like that moment of insecurity, like, you don't think that I'm handling this the right way. And so there's obviously that. But at the same time, he's acknowledging that no, it is a part of you. Diane's not a made up person. Yeah, she is, but she's not a made up person. Everything that we know about Diane DeMarco is what you did.
Yeah.
There was just a name before. There was not a background on this character like there was with him.
Yeah.
It was literally a name of his wife. So everything that happened, everything that was created about her was Elizabeth's portrayal. And so even if it was made up and she was totally acting, she was portraying an aspect of herself. It wasn't true. It wasn't how she would normally act, but she also didn't do anything out of character.
Yeah, she didn't do anything super outlandish.
she didn't, she didn't get totally drunk. She didn't like do anything crazy at the party that she wouldn't normally. She was actually very good at pretending and dumping the drink out when no one was looking so that it would look like she was playing the part without doing it. But she was also holding herself a little bit more assertively with an air of confidence than she sometimes does. And then she definitely was doing in that moment. And so he was just, I think, saying, I like that you're able to be that way when needed. And maybe this is one of those times when it's needed for you to have more confidence and more assertiveness and not let this person get to you.
Whatever the case may be, he handled the afterthoughts really well by
Yes.
offering to cook dinner. When in doubt, offer to cook dinner.
That was a good save. Yeah.
That was brilliant. I'm gonna make you and little Jack a cheer up dinner. Is that a thing? It is now. And the funny thing is, we're talking about assertiveness and boldness, and he gets bold and assertive. And I forbid you from allowing Mrs. Crabapple to stand in your way. Forbid. That's a strong word. Beg, plead, highly recommend. I think that highly recommend is going to become the new surprised and delighted. But then we go to the cheer up dinner. And this is what I am really, really liking, because not only is Nathan there as a support, he doesn't just try to make everything better. Yes, he's trying to calm her down. Yes, he wants to cheer her up, but he's also acknowledging what both of them did. You both got to stand up and make your case in front of somebody in power. Sometimes it takes more than one try. And, I can't help but think that his hearing comes to mind, because he had to state his case in front of several people in power.
Yeah.
And he had to do it twice because there was an investigation and then it was closed. And then Mr. Meanie Mountie had to
re-entered the picture.
re-enter the picture and open it up again and try to blame him. So he knows what he's talking about, but he's not trying to fix it for them. He's not rushing in and doing it for them. He just says, okay, this did not go as well. You need to try again.
And let's not forget, they are not the only ones with problems.
No.
Jack lost his favorite marble. So.
Oh, and it is hard work losing a marble.
It's just been a bad day in that family. It's just a lot of tough situations.
Well, it doesn't look like Nathan he had to listen to Elizabeth venting, so, so that'll cover it.
He's like, man, I gotta solve 3 people's problems now and make dinner.
And then what does he do? He rubs the hair on his head and he stands up and gets the stew so Elizabeth doesn't have to. I mean, we were making a big deal about the family dinner in season 11, but talk about a family dinner. That was a family dinner right there.
Yeah, that was perfect.
And then we go to the end when he comes in with flowers. We finally get to see him give her flowers. We didn't get to see it last time. I very much appreciated that moment.
Yes, that was nice.
And when she starts reading the letters, I love the words of the history teacher that all of the people are simply afraid of what might happen if we lived in a world of cooperation instead of competition. And then what does Nathan say? I could have told you that. Oh, wait, I think I did. How many times have you done that? Or at least thought about doing that, because I've lost count, especially with my kids.
Oh,
It is so funny when they say, "Oh, look, this was such a good idea." I said, "Oh, wow, that was a really good idea. Who gave you that? Oh, right. Yeah, mom gave you that idea."
yeah.
But Elizabeth giving him the credit for being brilliant, even though he knocked himself down a peg that time. That's your domain. But she called him brilliant, and then she called him brilliant a second time, thanks to a brilliant suggestion from someone very dear to me. I mean, we didn't get a whole lot of scenes with Elizabeth and Nathan this time around, but I was okay with it because all the scenes, there were so many proud looks between the two of them. And, this is part of a relationship too. You got to go through daily life and you got to
Yeah.
deal with things.
And I think that's what everybody has been wanting too, is
Yeah.
to see them just have the normal day-to-day challenges that they have to get through that aren't big relationship challenges. They're
Yeah.
just the day-to-day things that each of them has to deal with. And I really loved just the parallel of seeing Elizabeth and Allie going through the same emotions, totally different reasons, but it really solidified their connection even stronger, even without really calling attention to it, except for that one scene. But it made them feel even more like mother and daughter.
And
I,
connected to each other.
yeah,
It's interesting you would say that because something I noticed, we still have not heard Allie call her Elizabeth in front of Nathan. And so I'm still waiting for that to happen, but I guess
I
it's
know it will
already
happen
happened.
yeah, it'll happen at some point and it'll be wonderful. And we'll be
Or
like, there it is.
or it'll just be a natural thing because he's already heard it.
Yes, but to us, we'll be like, yes.
Yeah, to us it'll be and there he is. Okay, so speaking of Allie, she had she had some things to deal with, just like you said. I loved what Henry said to her and to Oliver.
Mm.
Bullies are rarely as smart as they think they are. He'll make a mistake. What's important is that you give him room to make it.
And I hope beyond hope that Henry has a teeny tiny part in how this goes down eventually, because it sounds like he has a history with McGinty. He kind of has a knowledge of who this guy is and how he operates,
At least a little bit.
at least a little bit. And when Henry said that line, he knows because he was one. He was a bully.
Yep.
And he did play that way. And so he's going to have a really good knowledge of how to work through that type of situation. And he's definitely shown himself as being a fabulous support to young adults
Yep.
coming up into their own. And that to me is where he shines, is with children and young adults.
Yeah.
And it's quite amazing.
Well, and the other thing is, not only does Henry know at least a little bit about McGinty, Allie now knows who McGinty is. She recognized the boots. I knew it was coming. I just didn't expect it to be McGinty.
I didn't either. Think about it. I didn't expect someone like him to do his own dirty work.
Yes. Yes. That was the other thing. So we thought, at least I did, that the branches were being used to cover up tracks, to be dragged in the dirt to cover up tracks. But Allie said you were dragging the branches to block, and then she got cut off. So he was pulling branches over to block the passageway. It wasn't just covering up tracks.
Yeah. So the downside to this conversation is that McGinty heard her. And he knows that she knows. And he is going to make every effort to get rid of this problem. Was it enlightening? He said, this has been enlightening.
I think so, yeah.
And nothing else that was said during that meeting was enlightening.
Very
nothing
true.
nothing else was information he did not have. Honestly, I just think he would have said this was a waste of our time.
Well, and that's what he was getting at and trying to shoo them away. Little girl, this is a conversation for grown-ups. Perhaps it's best if you just run along. Just completely throwing anything she had to say aside. And then she brought it up. He's probably racking his brain trying to figure out
How
how
she
she
knows.
knows, where did she find out, who told her, when, how long has she known?
Probably knows she was where she shouldn't be if she knows.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways this could play out, but I definitely foresee him more trying to threaten or hurt her more than trying to badmouth her and get her in trouble for being somewhere, because that's going to
absolutely. He's
still
gonna
going to
silence her.
incriminate him
Yeah.
if he admits that she was there and saw something.
Now, here's a question. We know that Oliver and Allie get mixed up with Sunny from the preview. Do you think McGinty comes along and joins up with Sunny and Woody?
I think he's already joined. I think he's already in cahoots with Sunny.
You think that he's part of the Garrison game, at least in connection?
I think there's a connection. I don't think he's in the gang, but I think that the theory of Uncle Ernie being privy to all the information is probably not true, and it's probably McGinty.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, that was one thing that was very helpful, because I think I remember telling you I'm so confused with all of the mystery stuff, and with Nathan talking as Danny and kind of speaking in code and blah, 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 blah. And so when Nathan told Bill, Toddy said that he's been getting the coins in small batches over the last 5 or 6 years from some rancher in Benson Hills. When the rancher died last year, he was cut off and he sold the bulk of the coins. And that's where they got the Amsterdam connection. So I went, okay, I'm getting it all now.
Yeah. It is possible, because McGinty has been blackmailing people, basically.
Yeah.
It is possible that Ernie did have the coins and was the source, but had to give the rest of them to McGinty in some sort of piece of the blackmail. Which would explain why there was nothing left for Edie to find or to know about. But it's also possible that things got a lot more serious. I don't know if we know 100% how Ernie died, or if there could have been other factors at play there.
Uh-huh.
But McGinty definitely he knows a lot more. And I would not be surprised if there was a strong ongoing connection with the Garrison gang, because nothing else makes sense. It doesn't make sense that garrisons are breaking out and coming up and looking for their loot. Um, it feels like they would already, especially after that coin was shown to him
Mm-hmm.
in prison, and he knows that some coins have been, so he knows that the loot was found wherever they hid it. People have been selling it. It ended up all the way in Amsterdam. Like he's got all this information now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's got to be more to it.
Well, and we knew that something was up even before the preview happened, because the new guest at the Queen of Hearts, his name is Woody. I don't know why you would talk about this in a place like the Mercantile, but
Ridiculous.
oh my gosh. But we're all set. I got a room at the saloon, just one. I'm not made of money yet. You can sneak in through the balcony. Ah,
They probably haven't fixed it since they went over the side. It's probably really easy to climb up there right now.
even if Molly wasn't right there hearing everything, it's the tile. And
Yeah.
dude, be a little smarter than that.
Yeah. He was not being discreet at all.
Uh-uh. He wasn't even lowering his voice. Just oh, so at least one thing that I am very happy about is Edie came clean. Edie came clean with Lucas. And because she couldn't bear to leave things as they left them. And she wanted to explain, which means she likes him.
Yeah, that wasn't really a professional assessment of the situation.
No, but it caused a lot of things to become easier, at least with a different perspective for him professionally. Maybe it wasn't a professional admission, but it's
No,
going to make things a lot easier for him professionally, at least with having the knowledge.
agreed.
I'm very curious to see how all this is going to turn out. Okay, so here's a fun connection. Did you recognize Roland Rockwell from Benson Hills?
I recognized him, but I didn't know where from.
I'm happy to enlighten you.
Okay.
His name is escaping me, but he is from Signed, Sealed, Delivered. He played the hotel clerk into The Altar. And the thing that I thought was so funny, I don't know if this was done on purpose or by happy accident. It does not strike me as being done on purpose, because he was only in the one movie. He wasn't a reoccurring character, but
Mm-hmm.
I found this hysterical. He said, from the letters that we've gotten, and you know, letters are everything. And then at the end, when he's going over the letters that they got for the two programs, he said, people who are bored don't write letters. So, and then he also says, not only did they get letters in Hope Valley, but he got letters in Benson Hills
Mm-hmm.
for the school teacher and the play. So it's a hit. And
Awesome.
not just because of the letters, but I just thought the whole connection to letters. We have the letters saying things were boring that swayed everything, and then we have the letters saying that they loved it, which is causing everything to come up. And then we have the letters supporting Elizabeth and saying, no, we like this. Keep telling us. It's all about the letters.
It is ironic, isn't it?
It's another wonderful way to connect these two amazing programs. And then, you know, we've got an actor who has now been in both of them to boot. So but the new station in Port Townsend, which I have a special connection. Townsend used to be my name before I was married. So when he said a new station in Port Townsend, I went,
Yeah. And I feel like we've had that town name come up before in the past.
yeah, it's just been a while.
It is a nice little small town in Washington that it's just such a interesting little connection because I hear it mentioned all the time living in Washington.
I bet you do. And it is Fiona's next big adventure. We wondered how she was going to solve this problem. I found this. It's a necklace my husband gave me for Christmas a long time ago. You can't really read it, but it says follow your heart. And there's been a lot of that phrase in the last few episodes. So I said, oh, I need to start wearing this.
So, I mean, we knew she probably wasn't going to get married right now, but
I wondered how far it was going to go. I wondered how close it was going to get to it. But yeah.
I thought it was really nice to have Elizabeth be the one to talk with her. The two of them haven't had a lot of scenes together. We know they're really good friends in real life.
Yep.
And especially because there was such a connection. We've talked about repeating storylines and things come up again and how sometimes that can feel like you're just repeating a storyline.
Yeah.
But also there are so many times in real life where you cross paths with people who are going through something similar that you've gone through, and it can feel kind of surreal in that moment, like, wow, that's happening to you, that just happened to me like a year ago or something like that. Like that does happen so often, and sometimes it is happening, you don't know it, or you're just finding like you're noticing it because it happened to you, and you might not have even noticed this person talking about a situation before that situation being so relevant in your life. And so I actually really like the times when they've had these parallel stories and found that connection. And instead of just being like, oh yeah, we're doing this story again, they're like, okay, this person has been through that. Let's have them talk to them. Let's have them give them advice. Let's have them share their side of the story. Because that is what would happen in real life, is you'd seek out support from people who had been in that situation. So years ago with Clara getting ready to remarry and Elizabeth having that conversation with her about, how she has dealt with being a widow, like that really felt reminiscent in this scene of just like finding that like, oh yeah, calling off an engagement is really hard.
It is. It is really hard.
And it can be done if that's the right thing. Like, yeah, maybe not having gotten engaged would have been better.
Probably.
But like, what is that saying where it's like, yesterday might have been the best time to do it, but today is the second best time to do it. Like, it's still better to do it now. Like, don't get any further.
Don't wait until tomorrow.
Yeah, don't push it out. Like, if you know now that it's not right, deal with whatever the issue is. Deal with it now. Don't put it off.
Well, and the other thing is, it added another layer of why Elizabeth did what she did. Because I still don't care for how she broke Lucas's heart there, even though he wasn't completely heartbroken. it was still a horrible and hard thing.
Though,
But
and the way that it
the
happened,
way,
not
yes.
not just that it happened, but yes, but yeah.
But when she says calling off my engagement was the hardest thing I had to do, because on paper, we made sense. It was just another way. I know that she said that she was scared and she wasn't listening to her heart, but those are all things that we've heard before. Hearing her say, on paper, we made sense.
And combining that with all of the things we already know, like she did love him,
Yeah,
she just didn't love him that way, but
yeah,
she have love for him, and you add that to on paper, it's perfect.
yeah. On paper, we made sense, but my heart was telling me something wasn't right. And so that just added another layer of closure.
Yes.
And so I really appreciated that. And then it gave Fiona the courage and the strength to call off a much newer engagement, thank heavens. I feel
With
terrible
yeah,
for Harold because he finally got what he wanted after three
I,
tries, but better to find out now than 2 years into the marriage,
mhm,
because that would have been even more heartbreaking for him.
yeah.
Well, Hearties, we hope that you weren't heartbroken watching this episode or listening to this recap. It was definitely a filler episode. Not a lot of big action-packed things happened, but I thought that a lot of steps were taken and a lot of things were talked about that needed to be said to
Mhm.
make room for coming episodes, particularly the next episode, which is looking like it will be a very action-packed and suspenseful episode. Man.
Yeah. Did you think years ago that we would ever see Sonny Garrison again?
No, never in a million years.
Of all the people they could bring back, like that one surprised me. I was, okay.
And funny that Jake Garrison uh turned up dead. He's dead now.
Yeah.
So wondering if we get any more of that story or if we just get Sunny, but I mean, callbacks are the icing on the cake for a show like this
Yes.
because the fans love it. Newer fans are going to go back. If they haven't seen it, they're going to go back and find the story.
Hmm.
Older fans might go back. And if they don't go back, they will watch the story even more, knowing that there's something. And then when they bring back the same actor, oh my
Oh,
gosh. I just love it. I just love it so much when they do it.
yeah. It just makes so much sense because there weren't gonna be that many big notorious bad guys in a small area
Yeah.
in the same time frame. And you would think they would come back to a place where they had been before, that they had a big issue and that's where they got caught and all of this drama. Like you would actually expect them. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And John Reardon is a little busy filming, so he couldn't come back and reprise the Tolliver Gang.
Yeah,
So, but that's okay.
this made sense. This worked.
Yeah, we will see what happens. All right, Hearties. Well, we will leave you for now, but we will be back and we'll probably be doing a little bit of panting because of all the suspense.
There is sure to be a lot of suspense in these last couple episodes. It always ramps up quite a bit at the end of the season,
It
and
does.
I I I I'm looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
Okay, one more question for you.
Okay.
We see a shot of Elizabeth saying, "We have to find them."
Mhm.
We see a shot of Elizabeth on a horse, galloping off, I assume, to go find Allie and Oliver. Do you think that they are going to pull Elizabeth into the hostage situation?
There is so much in this upcoming episode that I'm really just confused how it's all going to play out. Because if this is happening earlier in the episode, then I don't think it's going to be that drawn out. There's
Ah,
just so many different topics happening that it's more likely going to kind of come to a head at the end of the episode and potentially even have a cliffhanger.
hmm. So here was my thought. At the very, very end of the preview, we hear Bill saying, "Nathan," and there's a shot of some lace on a branch, like it was left there as a guide. But Allie's not wearing a whole lot of lace these days, especially not when she's out in the woods, which is what she went out there for. So I'm wondering if that's a piece of Elizabeth's dress.
Yeah. I mean, very possibly, but it also doesn't mean that she's been taken
No, it
because she could be
doesn't.
tracking them and still trying to leave a trail behind her.
Yeah. So we'll see. Well, in the meantime, Hearties, follow your heart. And follow your heart right back here next week. And we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.